What if the system that says it sees everything quietly misses the most important thing in the sky? It's a strange thought, isn't it? You grow up told that the big powers have lists, maps, registries, that everything that moves is tagged and filed. You're taught that the dangerous ones, the wild ones, were wiped out long ago, and that their story only survives as a warning. It really makes you wonder what happens to an empire built on the sentence. Nothing new can arrive. Nothing lost can return if one night the stars stop agreeing, because that's the itch at the center of this story. Not just a mysterious ship, but a fragile belief snapping under one small, impossible blip on a screen. An admiral who's sure the numbers are on his side. And far away, a patient human mind steering a warship designed not to conquer a capital, but to embarrass it. So as you settle in and let your day slide into the background, imagine we're sitting together in the quiet watch room of Aegis Ground Station. Screens glowing, air humming, nothing interesting expected. I'm going to take you to the moment a tiny, unregistered contact appears in Lieutenant Jorin Pell's sector, just a speck in the static, while out in the dark, the human warship DUSK-SPEAR begins its slow approach toward the heart of the empire that tried to erase its kind. You are very far from home. You are not standing on a planet. You are not breathing air. You are drifting in the dark above a bright world, inside a metal ring called Aegis Ground Station, where stars hang like cold dust, and every ship in the sky has a number, a path, and a place. At least that is what the Empire says. For centuries, the registry has felt like the truth. Every ship tagged, every captain known, every route approved. The Empire tells its people that nothing moves in their sky without permission, that nothing new can arrive, that nothing lost can return. They tell stories about humans as if they are long gone, burned out, finished, only a warning in history. Tonight, a quiet light appears in the static. It is small at first, almost nothing, a tiny mark on a screen that should mean an old cargo ship, or a broken transponder, or a glitch in the data. A young officer frowns at the mark. He checks the registry. He checks again. The mark does not match anything in the system. The ship that makes it should not exist. Far away, around a blue and white world the Empire wrote off as dead. A hidden fleet, deep minds, human minds, have planned this moment for a long time. A single vessel moves with slow, certain steps toward the capital of the power that tried to erase them. You will see this event from both sides. You will sit in the quiet watchrooms of the Empire as duty officers try to fit this strange ship into their rules. You will stand on the bridge of the human warship, DUSK-SPEAR, where a calm crew follows a plan meant to shake a whole galaxy without burning it down. No alarms yet, no battles yet. Just a small mark in the static, just the soft beginning of a thought. What if the stories were wrong? Lieutenant Jorin Pell sat at his console on Aegis Ground Station and watched the sky in numbers. The sky did not look like stars to him. It looked like lines of data on a dark screen, moving in slow patterns. Routes, codes, altitudes, velocities. Each line was a ship with a registry ID, running along a set path. Cargo haulers, patrol corvettes, private yachts, troop carriers, survey barges, thousands of them stacked on his display like glowing threads of light. He was 26 years old. He had never set foot in deep space. He had never seen combat. He had never seen a ship move without a registry tag. He did not think that last thing was strange. The registry felt as solid as gravity. The workstation room around him was quiet. Rows of officers sat in recessed pits, each at a console, each watching a sector of space around the capital world below. Their screens painted the same heavy order: neat traffic lanes, regular patrol loops, defense grids in slow rotation. The station hummed behind them, a low, constant sound like breathing. Above, through the high armored dome, the capital planet turned in blue and gold. Aegis crowns circled it like a metal halo, studded with sensor masts and weapon towers. People on the surface looked up and told their children, "Aegis sees everything. The Empire is always watching. We are safe." In training, they had called Aegis Crown a nervous god. With perfect eyes, Joran had laughed with the others. When the instructor said that, he did not laugh at it now, after 3 years in the watch pits. He half believed it. He knew the sensor web around the capital by heart. 23 main arrays, 57 secondary nets, hundreds of smaller nodes that checked for strange mass signatures, unscheduled drives, unusual energy spikes. Every ship that came near the core worlds talked to that web by transponder code, like pilgrims giving their names at a temple gate. No transponder, no entry. If a ship did arrive without a code, there were rules. Very old, very strict rules. First, verify the glitch. Then ping the target. Then match the signal. Then call a supervisor. Then escalate through the chain. Then escalate through the chain. Joran recited those rules in his mind without thinking about them, the way other people might hum a song. His fingers slid across the console, adjusting filters, checking calibration values, shifting focus from near orbit to the distant reaches of his assigned sector. The clock in the corner of his display ticked toward third shift. The room lights were dim, set to soft blue, to mimic local night. Most traffic near the capital had settled into routine flows for the sleep cycle. He had already logged 9 minor deviations, a cargo hauler slightly off its lane, a patrol ship late on its turn, a private shuttle pushing its speed limit. Nothing serious, nothing interesting. He breathed, slow and steady. This was what safety felt like. Boredom. A tiny mark appeared at the edge of his display. At first, his mind slid past it. The mark was so small, it looked like a bit of stray noise, a single bright point that did not match any route line. It sat just inside the outer ring of his sector grid, not far from a region where deep space static often rose and fell. He might have ignored it. Many officers did, at least for a few seconds, when they saw something like that. But Joran was new enough to still care about every detail. He leaned forward, narrowed his eyes and tapped the point to select it. The display zoomed in, blurring then sharpening. Blurring then sharpening. The point became a tiny crosshair with a label. Uncabbed 7A 993. 93 velocity, steady. Vector inward, toward the core. He checked the filter controls. Noise reduction on. Ghost artifact removal on. Background static normal, no flags in the error log. He ran a quick check against the registry. Rows of data scrolled past. Ship IDs, classes, histories, captains, destinations. The system compared the contact's location and movement with every planned entry, every logged departure, every refueling stop in this part of space. Result: no match. Jorin frowned and checked again, this time widening the radius to include nearby sectors. Sometimes a ship passed between sectors and the handoff lagged by a few seconds. That could make it look unregistered for a brief moment. The result came back the same: no match. His first thought was simple: glitch. He had seen glitches. A sensor dish out of phase. A mistagged cargo barge. Even a stray asteroid with a metallic core that fooled the system for a moment. The training manuals had a whole section on phantom contacts and how to clear them. He opened the diagnostic suite and ran a quick test on his console. All normal. He checked the nearest sensor node status. Green across the board. He cross-linked with a secondary array. The contact appeared there too. Velocity still steady. Vector still inward. He felt a small shape of unease in his chest. It did not feel like fear. It felt like a puzzle piece that did not fit. Lieutenant Pell, said a voice behind him. It was calm, almost lazy. Why are you leaning at your screen, as if it owes you money? Jorin straightened so fast his chair squeaked. He turned his head and saw Captain Saros Vale standing at the edge of his pit. Saros wore the dark gray uniform of Aegis Command with a thin blue line at the collar that marked him as a sector watch captain. His hair was shaved close on the sides and longer on top, just starting to gray. His face was lined in the way of people who smiled a lot but tried not to show it. Jorin swallowed. Sir, small anomaly in subsector Kappa 9. It may be a glitch running checks. Saros rested a hand on the pit rail and looked at Jorin's display. His eyes flicked over the numbers in that fast, smooth way that came from years of doing this. Contact 7A 993, Saros read. Mass reading. Burin pulled up the estimate. High variance. More than any shuttle or corvette. More than standard freighter class. The system is still calibrating. Transponder? None, sir. Jorin felt his throat tighten as he said it. Registry returns no match. Show me cross-array confirmation. Jorin tapped. The screen split, showing data from two separate sensor webs, looking at the same location from different angles. The contact glowed on both. Very well, Saros said. His voice stayed even. Tag it as unidentified. Probable glitch. Continue observation. Log time and initial readings. Jorian hesitated. Sir, if it keeps moving inward, then we will follow the book. Saras gave a small, easy smile. This station has seen 1 billion such ghosts. Most vanish in under a minute. The registry does not make mistakes. Jorian nodded, but his eyes stayed on the tiny mark. Yes, sir. Saros clapped him lightly on the shoulder and moved on to the next pit, checking other officers' work, offering quiet comments. The room hummed with low talk, keys tapping, air circulators sighing. The seconds ticked by. The mark did not vanish. Its velocity value stabilized, its course sharpened into a clean vector, aimed not just toward the core in general, but along a line that would cut through several traffic lanes on the way to the capital. Jorian watched as the system updated the mass reading. Estimated displacement, Super Dreadnought class or above. He blinked. That could not be right. Super Dreadnoughts did not just appear in your sector. They were rare, huge, and always listed in the registry with full ceremonial titles. They never traveled without escort. They never moved without a storm of paperwork. And they certainly did not do so with silent transponders. Jorian checked the value again, then ran another diagnostic on the node. No fault, no anomaly. His heart started to beat faster. He raised his hand. Captain Vale, sir. Saras looked up from the next pit. The contact remains. Mass reading suggests capital class. No transponder. No registry match. Moving inward on a stable vector. The room grew a little quieter. A few nearby officers glanced over. Saras' smile faded. His eyes hardened, not in anger, but in focus. He stepped back to Jorian's pit and leaned over the console, hands braced on the rail. Time since initial detection. 3 minutes 27 seconds. Speed below typical FTL exit drift. It appears to have dropped from drive just outside the outer web, sir. Coasting now on sublight. Origin vector. Jorian pulled up a projection, a faint line, extended back from the contact, tracing a path out into the deep. Past a few minor stations, past mapped trade routes, out toward less traveled regions. It did not come from any known gate or jump corridor, sir, he said softly. Saras' jaw worked once. Very well. Flagged the contact level 3, system-wide check for stealth-tagged government vessels or black projects in that corridor, and notify Central Operations. Jorian's hands moved quickly. Level 3 meant unregistered contact, probable system error, or special operations. It was high enough to bring in more eyes, but not high enough to raise alarms that would reach civilians. He sent the alert. Icons shifted on his display as more nodes focused on the contact. Status lights at nearby pits turned from soft blue to amber. Officers straightened, reading new data feeds. A calm, deep voice came over the internal channel. This is Admiral Maul. Central Operations has the flag. All sector captains report. Admiral Kethrin Maul almost never spoke directly to the watch pits. His presence lived in upper levels, in secure chambers where big decisions were made. Jorian had seen him only once in person during a station-wide inspection. He remembered a tall man with a shaved head, dark eyes, and a face that looked carved from stone. Now that voice slid through the speakers, slow and firm. "Captain Saris Vale." "Sector Kappa," Sarah said, keying his mic. "We have a confirmed contact with no registry code. Mass suggests capital tonnage. It is not behaving as typical debris or glitch artifact." "Transponder?" Maul asked. "Silent, Admiral." "Stealth project, none registered in my sector. System check pending." There was a brief pause. "Level 3 is a generous alert for a phantom, Captain," Maul said. "The registry does not forget capital ships." "I agree, sir," Sarah said. "That is why I believed you should see it." Another pause. Longer this time. "Continue observation," Maul said. "Do not raise traffic alarms. We will treat this as a probable data fault until we know more. Notify me if mass or vector readings change. I will consult with High Registry." The channel clicked off. Joran let out a breath he had not realized he was holding. He felt a strange mix of comfort and doubt. On the one hand, the Admiral himself had seen the data. That meant the situation was under control. On the other hand, Maul's answer had been exactly what training taught. Trust the registry. Assume the system is right. Assume the unknown is just a mistake in the numbers. Jorian looked at the contact again. It was still there. It was larger now. As range decreased, more sensors locked on, forming a clearer picture. ROG hull outline. Elongated, asymmetric. ENRG side nature. Zel meson. Non-standard, prival. Drive residue, unknown FTL type. The system tried to match the signatures with known designs. Dozens of ship classes flashed past and were rejected. No match, the computer said in a flat tone. Joran swallowed. Around him, the room stayed calm. Officers adjusted scans. Captains conferred. Overhead, the planet turned in its slow, bright curve. On the surface, billions of people slept or walked or worked, sure that the sky above them was safe and known. Except this. Jorian looked up through the dome at the stars beyond the glow of the capital world. SPEAR. In training, they had taught a simple phrase. The Empire's light reaches all. It had sounded grand then. Now, for the first time, it sounded slightly less solid. He turned back to his console and zoomed in again on the contact. It was not a ghost. It was coming. By the time the contact crossed the outer defense grid, nobody on Aegis Crown Station called it a glitch anymore. It had been tracked for over an hour now. Dozens of arrays had scanned it. 3 separate software suites had checked for data faults and found none. 2 minor outposts along its path had confirmed visual points. A dark shape against distant stars, moving with slow, steady purpose. Still, the registry had no code for it. Still, its transponder remained silent, In the main tactical amphitheater of Aegis Crown, Captain Saurus Vale stood on the central platform and watched a three-dimensional display of the local space. The image wrapped around the room like a half-sphere of light. The capital world below, rings of traffic and defense, and beyond them patrol routes and outposts. Near the top of the display, gliding along a white vector toward the core, a red symbol pulsed. Unregistered contact. Range? Outer grid. 2 light minutes and closing. Replied. Tactical Officer Wren. Speed constant. No course changes. Mass now firmly in Super Dreadnought range. Captain, another officer added, but hull profile does not match any known Imperial class. Saros kept his voice even. Show predicted intersection with civilian traffic. Lines appeared. Projected paths, calculated avoidance. The ship's projected course cut through several layers of busy lanes, like a knife, through layered paper, but at a shallow angle. If it kept moving the same way, it would miss most major routes by safe margins. Any sign the contact is adjusting to our traffic? Saros asked. Negative, Wren said. It is not correcting or weaving through lanes. It is simply moving. Sir Saros tasted something dry at the back of his throat, like it does not see our routes at all. Wren hesitated. Yes, sir. Up in a raised command box, behind armored glass, Admiral Catherine Maul watched with arms folded. The lights caught on the pins of his rank at his collar. His face had not changed since he entered, but every officer in the amphitheater could feel the tightness of his presence, like extra gravity. Status of special project checks? Maul asked. A duty clerk near the side wall spoke into a mic. High Registry confirms no unlisted capital class asset in this area. Admiral, Black Operations confirms no stealth test in progress. Imperial Science denies any current large-scale hull experiments. The list went on. Every hidden office that might have launched a secret ship had been asked, in careful codes, if this was theirs. Every answer had come back the same. Not ours. Maul's eyes narrowed. So, an unknown capital-scale object stages a precise FTL exit just beyond our outer sensors, maintains perfect silence, and follows a straight line toward the most guarded world in the Empire. He spoke softly, but in the stillness of the room every person heard. What does that suggest to you, Captain Vale? Saros took a breath. If it is not a phantom, sir, and not ours, then it must be foreign. Possibly a failed stealth entry. Possibly. He stopped himself before he said. Maul said. Possibly hostile, Saros finished. The word felt heavy in the air. Hostile near the capital meant many things. Radical cult. Pirate lord, mad captain trying to make a name, even in some old tales. Outside powers from the dark between galaxies. But those were stories from before the Empire had mapped nearly all known space. Maul's gaze flicked to a side screen, where registry data scrolled past like a prayer wheel. The registry shows no major foreign fleets within 500 light years. No rival power has the capacity to threaten the core. Our last capital-scale enemy ship died 2 centuries ago. During the Death Worlder cleanse, someone murmured from a side console. The room fell even more quiet. Death Worlder. Human. The word was old and sharp. It carried images from history classes, burning worlds, shattered fleets, strange hard-eyed beings from a blue planet that fought even as their lines broke. And then, at the end, silence. No more human ships, no more human signals. The Empire had declared them extinct. Joran Pell sat at a data pit near the lower tier, forwarding fresh sensor feeds to the main display. He tried not to think about humans. His mind did it anyway. He had seen the old news clips. Humans standing on ruined ground, shoulders set, eyes unbroken. The Empire's historians called them stubborn. The soldiers who had fought them used other words. Dangerous, relentless. The official story said that last human fleets had been cornered and burned out on the edge of a dying star. That Earth itself had been scoured. That the Death Worlders, brutal and wild, were gone, leaving the galaxy safe for order. Now a silent ship of unknown design headed toward the core, as if no such order existed. Joran focused on his console. "Admiral," said a communications officer, "we are within standard hail range. Protocol suggests." Captain Vale, instruct communications to open a wide beam hail. Standard Imperial greeting. Request transponder activation and identification. Log the transmission at high priority. Sorrows nodded. "You heard the Admiral," he told the comms pit. A young woman there touched her panel. Her voice changed as she spoke the formal message, steady and clear. "Unregistered vessel currently at coordinates Kappa 9-7. You are entering restricted Imperial core space without a valid registry code. Identify yourself and transmit your authorization immediately. Failure to comply will result in interception by armed forces." This is Aegis Crown Station, acting under the authority of the Galactic Empire. The message went out in tight beams and wide cones, carried on many bands at once. It rushed across the dark, past patrol ships, brushed civilian traffic, and reached the unknown ship. The amphitheater waited. "Silence. Repeat the hail," Maul said. The comm officer did. Then a third time, adding a stricter warning. All the while, the red icon on the main display kept gliding forward, steady, as if pulled by an invisible rail. No response on any channel. The comm officer said, "No transponder activation. No change in course or speed." "Passive scans?" Saros asked. "Still reading minimal emissions," Ren replied. "Hull remains dark in most bands. It is almost trying to look like space itself, but its gravity shadow gives it away." Soros rubbed his jaw, "So it understands our sensors well enough to hide from them. But it does not answer our call. Perhaps it believes we will assume it is ours and let it pass," Maul said. "But we are not that foolish." He turned to a side console and keyed a secure line. His voice carried only to the person at the far end. "Raise core defense. Quiet status. Alert nearest cruisers to adjust patrol vectors for possible intercept. I want a perimeter between that ship and the capital. Do not alarm civilian traffic. He cut the line and faced the amphitheater again. Captain Vale, initiate standard escalation. Classify the vessel as a suspect contact. Inform it that failure to respond will be taken as hostile intent. Saros nodded. He felt a tightness in his chest now too. Not fear exactly, but a pressure, the sense that something important had tipped a little off-center. Unregistered vessel. The comm officer said, now reading the harsher script, you are entering restricted space without authorization. You have failed to respond to lawful Imperial contact attempts. You are ordered to halt your current course immediately and engage standby drift. If you do not comply, you will be treated as a hostile target. The message went out. The red icon did not slow. Admiral Maul watched it, his face blank. Range to intercept point. He asked. 6 minutes at current speed, Rand said. Our nearest cruisers can reach an intercept vector in 3. They are already adjusting course. Far out, on the display, blue symbols marked Imperial warships moved, like patient hounds, swinging in to form a curved line ahead of the unknown ship. They were not the Empire's largest vessels, but they carried full armaments. Plasma cannons, missile racks, shield arrays that could shrug off almost any known weapon. The registry knew them well. They carried names like Shield of Law, Constant Vigil, and Starward Oath. Their captains had logged decades of safe patrols. Admiral, said another officer, core shield controllers ask if any adjustment is required for planetary defense. Maul shook his head. Not yet. The cruisers will handle this. We will not frighten the population over an unregistered hull. The contact will answer, stop, or burn. Those are the choices. His words were not cruel. They were just firm. Jorian looked at the cruiser's icons and tried to imagine sitting on their bridges. Crews there would be calm. They had done this drill 100 times with smugglers and pirates. Fire a warning shot. Disable engines. Board arrest. Update registry. Fill out forms. Go back to patrol. That was how problems ended in the heart of the Empire. In reports, not in wreckage. Captain Vale, Maul said, open a narrow beam hail on encrypted channels. Address it to all cruiser captains in the intercept group. Order them to hold fire until I give direct command. I want a clean chance for surrender. Saros relayed the order. A soft chorus of affirmations came back from distant ships. Calm voices. No fear. Jorian watched the time tick down. 5 minutes to intercept. 4. The red icon and the blue line of cruisers drew closer on the board. The unknown ship did not adjust. It headed straight for the gap between the two nearest cruisers, as if it intended to pass right through the center of their net. Contact is now ignoring direct intercept geometry. Ren said, Captain, I do not think it cares about our trap. That is enough commentary, officer, Saros said, but his voice lacked its usual ease. Range? Maul asked. 60,000 kilometers. Wren said. Cruisers in firing position. We will be able to watch their engagement in real time. Comms, Maul said. Final hail. Inform the contact that in 30 seconds we will open fire. The comm officer read the message. Voice crisp. 30 seconds passed. Nothing changed. Very well, Maul said. Captain Vale, authorize warning shot. A single plasma burst. Near miss. Do not strike the hull. I wish to see if it reacts to danger. Saros gave the order. On the main display, one of the cruisers flashed. As its main cannon fired, a bright spear of charged matter leapt across the gap. A sea-green line on the board, and passed just ahead of the unknown ship's path. The unknown ship did nothing. It did not twitch. It did not roll. It did not broadcast alarm. It did not raise visible shields. Contact maintained course and speed, Wren said. No sign of evasive action. It is either very brave, Maul said, or very sure of itself. He stepped closer to the window of his box, hands clasped behind his back. Captain Vale, he said quietly, prepare for full engagement. We will treat this as a hostile incursion. Authorize cruisers to fire to disable. Target drives and weapon ports first. If it refuses to submit, they may destroy it. Saros nodded. His throat felt dry. Yes, Admiral. He gave the command. Shorian watched, heart thudding in his ears, as the blue symbols around the red target shifted to attack stance. Firing arcs lit up. Plasma cannons charged, missiles armed. Out in the dark, 23 Imperial cruisers turned their guns toward the silent ship. Fire, Maul said. Space lit up. On the display, arcs of green-white plasma lanced toward the red icon. Swarms of guided projectiles spiraled in, seeking hard hull. Energy readings spiked across all bands. Radiation telemetry climbed. The amphitheater was silent. Nobody even breathed too loudly. All eyes were on the growing bloom of color around the contact. Direct hits registered, Wren said. Voice tight. Multiple full-power strikes. We are not seeing expected impact signatures. Saros snapped his gaze to the data. Clarify. The shots reached the target, sir, Wren said. But look at the dispersion. Energy curves are wrong. It is like the shots went around it. On the display, the blooms of plasma should have flared against a hard surface, ripped armor, bled heat. Instead, they bent. It looked as if the space around the red icon warped, redirecting the blasts in smooth curves that slid off into the dark. Impact energy dissipated. Hull damage, none. Someone muttered, not bothering to keep the fear from their voice. Those are not shields as we know them, said a science officer. Field geometry is unfamiliar. It is not a simple barrier. It is redirecting the path of the bolts before they touch. On the display, the red icon kept moving. Speed unchanged. Course unchanged. Cruiser captains report no effect on target. the comm officer said. For the first time, her voice shook, requesting permission to adjust tactics. Negative, Maul said. He stared at the display. Maintain fire. Increase to full barrage. I want to see if anything gets through. More fire poured from the blue symbols. The amphitheater lights dimmed slightly as the station's system shifted power to sensor recording. Trying to learn, space around the unknown ship became a storm of light. The storm did nothing. Jorian felt something inside him crack a little. It was not just the sight of Imperial weapons failing. It was the silent way the enemy ship ignored them. No shouting, no return fire, no panic. Just that same calm motion, as if it strolled through heavy rain and did not feel a drop. Admiral Saros said quietly, "If their defense can bend our plasma like that, then our standard doctrine is irrelevant." Maul finished, voice cold. "Yes, I see that." He stood very still. "Cease fire," he said. The order went out. The blue symbols dimmed, their guns cooling. The storm faded. In the sudden quiet, with weapons silent and the contact closer than ever, Jorian heard his own heartbeat. "Range?" Maul asked. 20,000 kilometers, Ren said. "Still inbound, still ignoring us." "How many civilians are aware of this?" Maul asked. "None, sir," an officer said. "All channels are under military lock. Traffic control has only been told of a temporary defense exercise." "Good," Maul said. "We will keep it that way. For now." He looked down at the red icon. "Communications," he said. "Open a direct beam to the unknown ship. Aim for any passive receivers it might have. Use a wide spectrum. High power. Put it through the main amplifier." "Yes, sir." The comm officer set it up. Her hands shook just a little, but her voice was clear. "Channel ready." Maul stepped closer to the pickup. For this, he would speak himself. "Unidentified vessel," he said, voice firm. "You have entered restricted Imperial space without authorization. You have ignored lawful commands to identify yourself, and you have ignored warning fire. You stand before the heart of the Empire. State your identity and purpose, or you will be destroyed." The message went out. Seconds passed. Jorian watched the timers. 10, 15. He told himself nothing would happen, that the ship would keep its silence and force the Empire to try something else, that the pattern so far would hold. At 19 seconds, a symbol flashed on his console. "Admiral," he blurted before he could stop himself. "We are receiving a signal." The room held its breath. "Origin?" Maul asked. "From the contact itself," Jorian said. "Tight beam, focused directly on us. Signal strength high. Modulation familiar, but not standard current code." "Put it through," Maul said. The signal passed through filters and decoders. Old formats were checked, then checked again. At last, the system settled on a match. Baseline human audio frequencies. Simple carrier, no encryption. The speaker system in the amphitheater clicked. Then, a voice filled the room. It was calm, clear, accented in an odd way, sharp on some consonants, soft on others. It carried no fear, no strain. It sounded like someone standing at a window, commenting on the weather. Aegis Crown Station, the voice said. Imperial Registry Control. The words were in perfect Imperial Standard, but the tone was not. It had a slight old world sound. The vowels were shaped like the ancient recordings from the Death Worlder Wars. You have fired on a human vessel, the voice went on. The room froze. The word hung in the air. Human Jory's hands went cold. Someone at a side console actually gasped. "That is impossible," a science officer said under his breath. "They are gone." "They?" "In silence," Maul said. His face had gone even harder. If that was possible. He nodded to the comm officer. "Continue feed." The voice from the unknown ship did not hurry. It did not raise its volume. It seemed to trust that every person was listening. "You have discharged your weapons at us without cause," it said. "You have attempted to bar our passage based on a broken belief that your registry rules the stars, that nothing moves unless you approve, that nothing survives once you mark it extinct." There was a small pause. Joran could almost feel the speaker at the other end, choosing each word. "Your belief is incorrect," the voice said. "Your weapons cannot touch us. Your registry does not contain us. Humanity endures." On the main display, the red icon that marked the unknown ship brightened as its own systems spiked energy for the first time. Until now, it had been a calm mass of dark hull and strange fields. Now, a single tight beam began to form along its forward axis. "Admiral," Wren said, voice thin. "We are reading a focused energy buildup on the target. Narrow band. Extremely high density. Unknown configuration." Joran's eyes locked on the data. The numbers were ridiculous. The ship was about to fire something they had never catalogued. Maul stared at the display. Wren hesitated. "Shield of law, sir. Order it to brace and raise maximum shields," Maul said. "All other cruisers, evasive pattern gamma. Get off that line." Commands flew out. On the board, the blue icons shifted. Most peeled away, boosting hard to the sides. One stayed close to the red line, not by choice but by position and time. There was nowhere it could go fast enough. "They are asking for instructions, Admiral." The comm officer said. "They are asking if they should ram, if they should." "Tell them to live," Maul snapped. "Tell them to survive and report whatever happens." The voice from the unknown ship spoke again, as if answering some unspoken question. "We will not destroy your world today," it said. "This is a demonstration. You may send your records to your emperors and councils. Tell them, humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not vanish because a file says so." The beam on the red icon reached peak. "Impact in 3, Wren said. 2, 1. On the display, a thin, perfect line of light leapt from the unknown ship to the cruiser, Shield of Law. It was not like plasma. There was no bloom, no spread. It was like someone had drawn a straight white line between 2 points, and then, for a heartbeat, made it real. The line touched the cruiser. Sensor feed spiked, then cut. The icon for Shield of Law went dark. Joreen stared at the space where it had been. A moment ago, that symbol had held thousands of lives. Now, it was just empty. "Do we have debris readings?" Saros asked, voice hoarse. Ren shook his head, eyes wide. "Minimal, sir. It is as if the ship was erased. Not shattered, erased." In the amphitheater, someone began to tremble. Another officer clutched the edge of a console until her knuckles went white. Admiral Maul's jaw tightened, but he did not look away. "Contact the remaining cruisers," he said. "Full withdrawal to safe distance. We will not feed them more targets until we understand that weapon." The blue icons pulled back, like animals burned by an invisible fire. On the speaker, the human voice continued, still calm. "You have seen a fraction of our power," it said. "Understand. This is mercy. We chose not to." The words fell over the room like soft stones. Joreen felt something shift inside his view of the world. For his entire life, the Empire had been the center of everything. Its ships were the strongest. Its laws were final. Its stories were true. Now, a ship that did not exist in its registry had just erased a cruiser in a single shot, while speaking with the flat calm of a teacher correcting a child. Maul lifted his head. "This is Admiral Kethron Maul," he said, voice low but steady, commanding Aegis Ground Station. "You claim to be human. You claim to speak for a people marked extinct. State your name and your authority." For a moment, there was silence. Then the voice answered. "This vessel is DUSK-SPEAR," it said, commanded by Commander Elias Mercer, under the authority of Admiral Rebecca Shaw of the Terran fleets. "We speak for Earth and for free humanity." Earth, the word made Joreen's skin prickle. That ghost world from history texts, that globe, shone burning red in old clips. Alive? With fleets? "Why come here?" Maul asked. "Why now?" On the line. The human's tone did not change. "To correct your story," Elias Mercer said. "To show your people that the sky does not belong to a book of names. To let your empire know that the things it tried to erase are watching." The red icon kept moving inward, slow and unstoppable. On the capital world below, lights burned in towers and cities. Unaware, in the amphitheater, surrounded by screens and numbers and the quiet shock of watching a god fail, Joran Pell understood that nothing he had believed about safety was simple anymore. The ship that would not obey was here. And it had just spoken. The DUSK-SPEAR did not look like an Imperial ship. Imperial warships were smooth and proud with bright running lights and clear lines. They looked meant to be seen. They carried flags on their hulls and bold names painted along their sides. Like promises, the DUSK-SPEAR was dark and rough-edged. Its hull was made of sharp angles and broken planes. No two sections looked the same. Patches of strange alloy sat beside plates of dull black like scars. It had no big glowing engines at the back, no bright shield shimmer, no obvious bridge tower. If you saw it from a distance, you might think it was a broken asteroid studded with old metal. That was not by accident. Commander Elias Mercer stood on the main bridge and watched the dim stars through a wall of clear armor. Out there, ahead of the ship, the blue and gold disk of the Imperial capital world shone like a jewel. Around it, he could just make out faint lines where defense grids and traffic lanes glowed. He had seen pictures of that world in secret since he was a child. It felt strange to stand here now and see it with his own eyes. Range to Aegis Crown, he asked. 12 light seconds, replied Tactical Officer Rana Ais. Her voice was steady, her hands relaxed on the console pads. She had been with him on 3 deep missions. She had flown past dying suns and hidden in the auroras of gas giants. Outer cruisers are withdrawing to a safe shell as planned. Aegis is holding orbit. No planetary shields raised yet. Good, Elias said. On another ship, another day. He would have been nervous. An entire empire's core defense had just discovered them. They had just burned down a cruiser with a single shot. Half the fleet around this planet had likely gone to full alert by now. Somewhere up there, old angry men were arguing about what to do. Here on DUSK-SPEAR, the bridge felt almost quiet. Light screens floated in the air around the command ring, showing status in simple colors. Green for normal, yellow for stressed, red for fail. Almost all were green. The hull fields hummed at low power. The main beam array, still cooling from the shot at Shield of Law, glowed dull orange on a cutaway. Commander, said a voice from the rear. External arrays report increased scan activity from Aegis. Spectrum sweep, gravity pulse, deep penetration try. They are very eager to understand us. Elias turned. Dr. Maya Caldwell sat at a wide bench lined with sensor feeds. She wore no uniform, just a dark jumpsuit with pale gray shoulders. Her hair was pulled back in a knot, and her eyes were bright with interest, not fear. She was not a soldier. She was a physicist and systems designer. The wild shape of DUSK-SPEAR's hull was partly her idea. Any sign they are pushing to active weapons? Elias asked. Maya shook her head. Not yet. Their main guns are powered, but they are behaving. Admiral Shaw's estimate was right. You have frightened them enough to make them think, but not enough to make them fire blindly. Elias turned back to the front. The captain's chair at the center of the ring sat empty. He liked to stand when things mattered. He rested one hand on the rail, feeling the faint vibration of the ship. Replay the wide beam feed from Aegis, he said. A segment of the forward window dimmed and showed a ghost picture. The inside of Aegis Crown's amphitheater recorded from their own signal taps. They had captured it when the station sent its last hail. The image was grainy, but clear enough. Officers in gray moved at their consoles. At the high back of the room stood a man with a shaved head and dark eyes. Admiral Kethran Maul. His face was tight. but his hands were steady. He kept his nerve, Maya said softly. Elias nodded. He is not a fool. That makes this easier and harder. He gestured, and the image vanished. This is exactly the angle Admiral Shaw wanted, he said. Firm, smart enemy, not a screaming brute, not a coward. A man who will understand what he saw and tell others in the right way. He turned toward the comm pit. Their systems are still locked onto our last message? He asked. Yes, Commander. The comm tech said. We are the loudest thing in their sky right now. We can talk to them whenever you like. Elias checked the mission clock in the corner of his view. Plus 01-1432 since FTL drop. Then we stay on schedule. He said, we say nothing more to them from here. We let that last line hang. He repeated it in his head. Humanity does not kneel. Humanity does not vanish because a file says so. Maya watched him. You think that sentence was enough for now? He said. Any more words and we start arguing. We are not here to argue. We are here to show. He looked up at the ceiling where small projectors glowed. Put Admiral Shaw through, he said. The bridge lights dimmed slightly. A circle of pale blue appeared in the air above the command ring, cleared, and then filled with the face of Admiral Rebecca Shaw. She sat in a dark control room, lit only by screens. Behind her, through a narrow window, a curved section of a planet floated blue and white swirls against black. Earth. Shaw was in her late 50s. Her hair was cut short, streaked with gray. Her eyes were sharp and tired at the same time. 3 thin scars crossed her left cheek. Pale lines from an old battle. Status. Commander Mercer, she asked. Phase 2 complete, Elias said. We have revealed. We have taken fire. We have answered with controlled force. They have seen a cruiser die. We have declared name and origin. No further shots fired. Outer escorts are pulling back as planned. And Aegis? Shaw asked. Still in orbit, Maya answered from her station. No sign of panic fire. They are trying to find us with every tool they have, but they will not. Shaw's gaze shifted toward her. Dr. Stan Caldwell. Your tricks hold? Maya smiled slightly. So far. Their plasma meets our field and goes for a walk. Their scans hit noise. Their gravity pulses get sent back a little bruised. They do not know what they are looking at. She tapped a control and brought up a small 3D model of the ship's defense field. It looked like layers of folded sheets around the hull, constantly moving. It is not a shield in the way they understand, she said. Their ships throw energy in straight lines. We bend space in front of those lines so gently that their own weapons agree to go somewhere else. From their view, it looks like their shots miss or fade. From ours, it is just a soft push. From ours, it is just a soft push. Shaw raised an eyebrow. Soft? Maya's smile widened. Well, soft for us. Hard for their math. And the beam? Shaw asked. Working perfectly, Maya said. The shot at Shield of Law was within 5% of projected yield. Our focus stayed tight. No stray spread. We left enough radiation trace for them to know something very sharp hit, but not enough for them to copy it fast. She turned serious. Admiral, that weapon is not a toy. We did what we said we would do. Single strike, single ship. Clean kill, but if we keep firing like that, even at careful targets, the message will change. We go from impossible visitor to butcher. Shaw nodded once, which is why the plan called for a single demonstration shot only. No more fully focused attacks inside the core. Not unless Aegis tries to burn you and leaves you no choice. She looked back at Elias. Remind me why we are doing this, Commander, she said, not because she had forgotten, but because she wanted the rest of the bridge to hear it again. Elias knew that. He stood straighter. Because the Empire believes we are dead, he said, because it uses that story to keep everyone quiet. Look what happened to the Death Worlders. They fought and were wiped out. Do not try what they tried. He paused. Because as long as that story stands, nobody will believe the Empire can bleed, he said. No rebels. No border worlds. No quiet citizens who hate their masters. They think there is no hope. He lifted his hand slightly, palm up. We are here to show that the story is a lie, he said. That they can fire everything they have at us and fail. That a single ship they do not control can walk up to their front door and knock. Without starting a full war, Maya added. Without burning worlds, Elias agreed. We choose a narrow blade, not a storm. Shaw's image watched him with a small, tired pride. Good, she said. Keep that in mind when their voices get louder. She shifted in her seat on Earth and touched a pad. A secondary display opened beside her head, showing a simple map of Imperial space. A bright point marked the capital. Around it, layers of control colored in red. At the far edge, one small blue dot marked Earth. The Empire won its last war against us by turning the whole sky into a flame, she said. Planetary bombardments. Starkiller drives. They could not beat us ground to ground, so they chose to try and erase us from orbit. She looked at the little blue dot. They thought they did it, she said. They broadcast those images. Earth burning, fleets breaking. They made songs about our end. They wrote laws on the bones of our name. Do not be like them. Do not stand up. The Empire always wins. Her eyes hardened. They did not know about the deep shelters under the old ice caps, she said, or the vault fleets folded into dark mass halos, or the slow-time bunkers buried under the sea. Maya had worked on some of that old tech. She still remembered the stale cold of the deep shelters, the long list of families sent under, the names of those who did not make it. For 100 years after the extinction, Shaw went on, we stayed quiet. We patched our wounds and hid. We watched Imperial patrols pass above dead ground and did not answer. We learned. She pointed at DUSK-SPEAR's cutaway on her side display. This ship is the result, she said. Not the biggest, not the strongest we could build, but the sharpest story. Maya nodded. We built DUSK-SPEAR as a message, not as an all-purpose weapon. Everything about it is chosen to shock. The hull, Elias said. The hull, Maya agreed. Looks like a wreck, but it is not. The asymmetry messes with their sight tracking. The rough plating needs their scans. No running lights means we carry our own darkness. It tells them, you missed this. You looked and did not see. The drive, Elias said. Different physics, Maya replied. They use fixed jump corridors and known FTL signatures. We use variable metric folding. To them, it looks like we fall out of nowhere. No corridor, no gate. We drop just outside their sensor curtain, like a stone, out of a clear sky. The defense field, Elias said. Maya smiled faintly. The go-for-a-walk trick. Their main weapons are bright, hot, very loud. We built something quiet that steps aside and lets the noise pass. The fact that their plasma cannons curve away without us even glowing, that will gnaw at their minds. Shaw gave a small sound. The banned word jar just buzzed back on Earth. She said, "Watch your language, Doctor. We do not want to give our children bad habits." The bridge crew chuckled softly. The moment of humor eased the tightness in the air. And the beam, Elias said. Maya's face turned calm again. I took an old idea and pushed it too far. A focused energy rod, drawn down a folded line so narrow it might as well not exist. All the power of a ship's core, pointed at a hull-sized dot for just long enough to unbind matter. To them, it looks like magic. It is not magic, Shaw said. It is math, and suffering, and hidden work, and fear turned into tools. She leaned forward. But the most important part of the plan is not the tech, she said. It is the script. How we use what we have. How we give the Empire something they cannot forget, but also cannot justify crushing the galaxy over. Elias nodded. They had spent years on the script. Stage 1, he said. Appear. Get seen. Stay silent. Let them raise their rules and feel sure of themselves. Stage 2, Maya added. Take their fire. Show their weapons fail. Slowly. One cruiser's worth of shots bent aside. Bent aside enough to shake them, not enough to empty their magazines. Stage 3, Elias said. Answer. Use old human words. Say, Earth. Say, humanity. Show them the ghost they thought they buried can talk. Stage 4, Shaw said. Take a single life in a way they cannot stop. Choose a warship, not a station, not a city. Make it vanish in front of a room full of officers. Then stop. She ticked off the last parts with a finger. Stage 5. Hold your place, she said. Do not flee. Do not chase. Let them see that you are not afraid of their next move. Make it clear this is not a raid. It is a meeting. Stage 6, Elias said softly. Turn away. Leave before they decide to do something truly stupid. Give them time to talk about what they saw, to argue, to doubt their emperor the next time he says, "We are untouchable." Shaw nodded. Single ship demonstration doctrine. She said, "We will not win by lining fleets in rows and smashing them together. The Empire has too many hulls, too many soldiers, too many dead worlds to hide behind. If we try to match them ship for ship, we lose. We burn another Earth." She looked out at them from far away. "But an idea can cut deeper than a fleet," she said. "Show them their God can bleed, and you will not need to kill every guard. Some will put their guns down on their own in 10 years or 20. Some will take longer. Our fight is with time as much as with metal." The word bleed made the bridge shift a little. They had seen the cruiser go dark. They had felt the power they carried. None of them wanted to imagine this tool turned on a planet. "Admiral," Maya said quietly, "some of our younger people are tired of hiding. They ask, why not take more shots? Why not strike command centers, burn fleets, crush the core now while they are confused? What do I tell them when I go back?" Shaw's eyes were tired again. "Tell them I have seen what it looks like when the sky falls on cities," she said. "Tell them I have walked through glass dust that used to be homes. Tell them I have watched children try to breathe smoke." She drew a slow breath. "And tell them the Empire has a simple answer to any attack that feels big enough to scare it," she said. "It fires the big guns. It drops rocks. It starts turning whole worlds into lessons." She tapped the map again, zooming in on a random outer world. "They will do it to their own people," she said. "If they can blame us, if we make them afraid enough, they will say, 'Look what the Deathworlders made us do.' And the people will believe them, because that is the only story they know." She looked back at Elias. "We show them another story," she said. "A small ship that walks through fire and then leaves. A voice that says, 'We endure,' and then vanishes again. No burnt cities, no dead children on every block, just a gap in their perfect records and a question in their hearts." Elias listened and felt his chest tighten. He had lost family in the First War before he was born. He had grown up among people with scars and quiet rage. He understood the wish to strike hard. But he also understood why they were doing this. "Understood, Admiral," he said. "Good," she said. "Now, next steps. You have made your point. How long until you reach the planned turn point?" Rana checked her displays. 6 minutes at current speed, she said. "We will reach the planned line above the planet's north pole, then rotate and begin exit burn. That will give all their eyes a clear view of our back. They will see that we do not fear a shot in the spine." Shaw asked. "We fold back out," Elias said. "Jump vector pre-computed. They will not be able to track it. We rejoin the outer picket at Point Havelock. From there we slip to the dark side of Io and wait for your next orders." Shaw nodded. "Good. Do not get greedy, Commander. We have already taken more risk today than our grandparents would believe. Do not add another story to the list because your pride felt nudged. Elias gave a short, crooked smile. My pride took a back seat when their plasma hit our fields. That felt very real, Admiral. She almost smiled back. Stay sharp, she said. We will watch the data as it comes in. Remember, we do not just need to survive. We need them to remember us in the right way. The circle flickered and Shaw vanished. Earth's distant curve faded with her. The bridge lights brightened again. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. Then Maya let out a slow breath. Well, she said, that went better than the simulations where they shot at our flanks without warning. Rana snorted softly. You and your fun scenarios. Elias looked around at his crew. Status checks, he said. Hull intact, reported the engineering station. Field generators at 83%. Cooling still in progress, but safe. Weapons, he asked. Main beam at 22% and rising, Rana said. Plenty for a scare shot, if needed. Not enough for another clean arrays. Secondaries untouched. Drive. Fold engine stable, said the navigation tech. Exit vector clean. No Imperial probes on our back trail. Good, Elias said. Carry on. He walked away from the command ring and stepped down to Maya's level. Show me their reaction patterns, he said. She brought up a display of Aegis and its nearby ships. Little arrows and bands showed where scanners swept and where comm bursts fired. It looked like a nest of ants poked with a stick. They are broadcasting in tight beams to their cruisers, she said. High-level codes. They are also sending layered messages down to the planet. Some go to military centers. Some go to internal security. Some go to the palace. The Emperor will not sleep well tonight, Elias said. Maya watched the screen. Good. She switched to a map of known rebel cells and dissident networks built from long secret listening. Maybe less. Someone always taps into military bands. Someone always talks. When they do, we will help the story grow. How? Rana asked, listening in. Maya gave a small, fierce smile. We will leak. Bits of sensor logs, clips of Aegis-owned displays showing their fire bending away, short recordings of Elias' nice, calm voice saying things their ministers swore would never be heard again. Humanity endures. She tapped the map. We dropped those into trade routes as anonymous data, she said. Smugglers sell them as curios. Border worlds pass them around in bars. Some people will say it is fake. Some will believe. Some will not care, but a few will look up at their own sky and think, maybe our God is not so big after all. Rana leaned back. Feels slow. Yes, Maya said. Slow is safe. We are very tired of dying fast. Elias let that sit. He remembered sitting as a child in a bunker, hearing old people argue. Some wanted to strike the Empire's shipyards as soon as they could field anything. Hit them now while they still think we are dust, they had said. Others had wanted to wait, to build, to learn. Shaw had been in the second group. And he looked at the planet out the front window. How many live down there? He asked quietly. Billions, Maya said. Most of them have never seen a war. For them, the empire is just rules and taxes and stories about barbarians. Stories about us, Rana added. Yes, Maya said. Stories where we are the monsters in the dark, where we charge screaming and get cut down, where the empire is always clean and right. Elias watched little pinpricks of light on the night side of the world. Tonight, they get a new story, he said. On Aegis, Admiral Maul would be trying to hold his order together. He would be calling far offices, arguing for calm, pushing back against fear and anger inside his mind, though the clean picture of a perfect registry had a crack now. Maya seemed to guess his thoughts. You spoke well, she said. You did not threaten the planet. You did not laugh at their weapons. You sounded sad, almost. I am tired of killing. If they listen, we will not have to kill as many. She studied his face. You still pulled the trigger. Yes, he said, because if we had failed to scratch them, our words would mean less than ash. They had to see something die. He could still see the brief flare where Shield of Law had been. He did not know any of the people aboard, but he could imagine them. They had woken that day certain of their place in a safe sky. They had died in confusion that lasted less than a heartbeat. He did not forgive the Empire for what it had done to his people. He did not forget the burned cities. But he still felt that death, sharp in his chest. Next turn point in 3 minutes, Rana said. We will cross above their North Pole soon. Their views will be better up there. Elias nodded. Angle for the limb, he said. Let them see our profile against the planet. Give their artists a clear shape to draw. Maya glanced up. Artists? Yes, Elias said. There will be pictures, sketches in margins, paintings on walls, little models in scrap metal hanging in back rooms. We are not just building fear, we are building myth. Maya considered that. Myth can go wrong. It can, Elias said. That is why we choose our actions carefully. Mercy where possible, precision in every shot. Quiet exits, let them wonder instead of scream. He took a last long look at the world ahead, then turned to face the bridge. Remember, he said to his crew, we are not here to win a battle. We are here to change how battles look in their minds. Rana's console chimed softly. Crossing the planned line, she said. Beginning turn. The great mass of DUSK-SPEAR rolled with smooth grace. The view in the forward window tilted. The capital planet slid down end to the side until it hung below them like a great lamp. For a moment, imperial cities shone through a thin layer of cloud. Then the angle shifted again. New heading set, the navigation text said. Exit vector engaged. Estimated time to jump. 4 minutes. Elias watched as the lights of Imperial ships shifted in their wake. Some tried to follow at range, most hung back. "Any sign of fresh fire?" he asked. "None," Rana said. "They are watching, recording, sending. That is the point." The bridge settled into quiet work. Numbers moved, lights changed, power flowed. Outside, far below, a world spun on under a metal watch ring that had just learned it was not the biggest eye in the dark. Elias felt DUSK-SPEAR's drive begin to build its strange hum, a low vibration deeper than sound. Full blackout after jump, he said, "No emissions, no signals, back to the dark." Let this be their question mark. He rested his hand on the rail again and spoke softly, not for the calm, just for himself and whoever on the bridge chose to hear. "Tonight, we touched their heart and walked away." Maya's fingers paused over her controls. "For now," she said. "For now," he agreed. "We have time." The hum rose. Space around the ship thickened, warped by hidden engines. The stars outside bent a little, then a little more. Far away, on Earth, Admiral Rebecca Shaw watched her boards and waited for the jump mark. Around her, buried deep under old rock and new armor, the last home of humanity. Breathe steady. Children slept in towns that had never seen the sky. Scientists ran tests on quiet machines. Soldiers trained in hidden caverns, learning both how to fight and when not to. Her staff waited. DUSK-SPEAR icon reached the edge of the prepared vector. "Fold now," Elias said. Reality twisted. From the view of Aegis Crown, the dark, scarred ship that had defied their guns and erased a cruiser in a single line of light, suddenly blurred. It seemed too thin, to stretch, to dip sideways into a place the Empire had not mapped. Then it was gone. No drive flare, no gate flash, no trace on their known charts. On DUSK-SPEAR's bridge, the hum cut off. The window showed a different sky, a faint pale disk off to port, a cold, dusty moon ahead. Somewhere beyond that moon, hidden in shadow, waited other human ships. "Jump complete," the navigation text said. "We are at Point Havelock. All systems stable. Aegis scans lost us before we folded. No chase signal." The crew let out a shared breath. Maya leaned back and rubbed her eyes. "For a thing we planned for a decade," she said. "That felt fast. History often feels that way." Elias said, "Long years of nothing." Then, a few minutes everyone talks about. He looked at the empty space where the image of Aegis had been. "That station will never feel the same to them," he said. "Every time someone there looks at a screen, they will remember the red icon that did not match any code." Maya nodded slowly, and the line of light, and the word Earth, Rana added, and the sentence, "Humanity endures," Maya said. Elias turned back toward his chair. "Take us into the shadow," he said. We go dark and wait. Let the Empire talk to itself. DUSK-SPEAR glided toward the dark side of the distant moon, its hull fields already shifting to a quiet mode that bent light and waves away. In a few minutes, it would be just another cold shape, among many, far behind, around a bright world ruled by numbers and records. The story had already started to change. The smell of overheated air and burned dust filled the tactical amphitheater on Aegis Crown Station. It was not smoke. Systems here were too clean and sealed for that. But the room had the feel of something that had just been through a fire. Screens still glowed. Consoles still worked, yet every person inside wore the look of someone who had watched a building fall and could not believe they were still standing. On the main display, the red icon that had marked the human ship was gone. In its place, only empty space. Confirm, Admiral Ketron Maul said. His voice carried a rasp that had not been there earlier. We lost the contact 4 minutes ago? Yes, Admiral, Tactical Officer Wren said. The young man's eyes were bloodshot. He had not blinked much since the beam hit Shield of Law. The target's mass shadow thinned, then twisted in a way our models cannot follow. All signatures vanished. No FTL corridor, no gate, nothing. Post-jump residue? Maul asked. None in known bands, the science officer said. Wrong. As if some part of space itself got tugged. But the pattern does not match any drive we have catalogued. Maul stared at the blank section of space where the red icon had been. Then they came, did what they wished, and left in a way we cannot even name, he said. He did not say ship. He said they. The word hung over the room. The officers around him shifted in their seats. Some checked numbers again, hoping for an error. Some glanced toward the ceiling, as if expecting a beam to appear above their heads. Next, in the lower pits, Lieutenant Jorian Pell sat at his console and felt as if he should be shaking. He was not. Instead, he felt strangely still, like the air right after thunder. He replayed the last minutes again in his mind. The failed storm of plasma. The calm human voice, the single white line, the empty place where Shield of Law had been. The name Earth spoken without fear. Admiral, a comm officer said quietly. Incoming priority bursts from core defense, internal security, and the palace. They all request immediate full report. Of course they did. The Emperor's private guard would want to know how a dead enemy had just walked up to his throne world and knocked a piece off his crown. Stall them, Maul said. Heads swung toward him in surprise. Sir, the comm officer asked, tell them we are still compiling sensor data. Maul said, which is true. Tell them we will send a preliminary report in 30 minutes. He turned to his aides. Lock all raw feeds from this room under my personal key, he said. No copies off station without my mark. No external access to bridge logs. A low murmur started. He cut it off with a look. You may think we need help, he said. We do. But rushing panicked fragments out to a dozen agencies will not bring help. It will bring confusion, fear, and orders to fire on anything that moves. I will not give the Empire a reason to start burning its own worlds, because it is terrified of ghosts. He let that sit. Understood? He asked. There were slow nods, even those who did not like him, holding the data this close, understood the picture he was drawing. Frightened ministers, wild rumors, overactions. Joran swallowed. He had never heard an admiral speak like that before. Training said, share data, obey the chain, trust the system. Maul was still obeying the chain, but he was twisting it to buy time. He is trying to protect them, Joran thought. Not just from the humans, from our own panic. Admiral Wren said, what do we call this in the log? We have to pick a category. On his console, a classification menu blinked, waiting. Standard choices: glitch, smuggler, pirate group, foreign power, rogue AI, mistagged imperial asset, none fit. Maul stared at the empty space on the main display. Call it an unregistered high threat. Contact, he said slowly. Subtype: unknown human vessel. Human origin, someone repeated, as if tasting strange food. Yes, Maul said. We will not pretend we did not hear that word from its own mouth. To do so would be childish. He looked around the room. Make no mistake, he said. The official story will try to soften this. They might call it a remnant pirate craft. Raft is, why, a trick. A foreign copy of old Deathworlder designs. There will be committees full of people whose job is to make this sound less dangerous than it is. He tapped the rail once with his knuckles. But every person in this room saw what happened, he said. You know better. You saw plasma bent away like rain off rock. You saw a cruiser erased in a single breath. You heard that voice. You will carry that truth whether or not the Emperor's scribes approve. His gaze settled for a moment on Joran. You, he said, Lieutenant Pell. You picked up the first contact, did you not? Joran straightened. Yes, Admiral. Describe in your own words what this event showed you. Maul said. Shorian's mouth went dry. He glanced once at Captain Saros Vale, who gave him a small, steady nod. He looked up at the Admiral. It showed me that the registry is not complete, Joran said, that there are ships it does not know. It showed me that our weapons are not the strongest that can be built, that there are defenses we cannot pierce and drives we cannot follow. He hesitated, then added, it showed me that the story about humans is wrong. They are not all dead. The room was very quiet. Maul nodded once. Good, he said. Hold on to that, no matter what the final report says. The doors at the back of the amphitheater slid open. A small group of officers in dark uniforms entered, carrying sleek pads and wearing the symbol of internal security on their collars. A narrow black eye over a star. At their head walked a tall woman with tightly braided hair and a cold, neat face. Her badge marked her as a senior inquester. Maul's jaw clenched for a brief second. Then he smoothed it away and stepped down from his box. Inquester Tall Draven, he said. That was fast. News travels quickly when cruisers vanish from the registry, she said. Her tone was polite, but she did not bow. Admiral Captain Vale, we have orders from the palace to secure all data related to this. Her eyes flicked once to the spot on the display where the red icon had been. Of course you do, Maul said. I have already sealed the data under my key and begun initial analysis. You will have my full report soon. That is not sufficient, Tal said. The Emperor's Council wants direct access to raw feeds. They want continuous updates, and they will have them, Maul said. In time, after I can ensure that what we send is accurate. Tal's gaze grew narrower. This is not the time for pride, Admiral. This is not pride, Maul said. It is caution. If I send half-formed numbers and frightened guesses to a dozen rooms full of frightened people, they may decide to fire orbital plates at the capital traffic lanes just in case. I would prefer our people not die of overreaction. Some of the internal security officers shifted uncomfortably. Tal did not. You speak as if our rulers are fools, she said. I speak as if they are human, Maul said. Humans have just reminded us they exist. The word sat there between them. Tal's mouth tightened. Careful, Admiral. The term Deathworlders is still the one used in official doctrine. Maul's eyes cooled. You may call them what you wish in your files. They called themselves human. He straightened. Here is what I offer, he said. You may post your people in this room. You may watch what we see. You may question my officers. But raw data to the palace goes through me for the next 3 hours. After that, once my analysts and I have a clear view, you will have every bit we have. That is my compromise. Tal held his gaze. You take much on yourself, she said. I was given this post to protect this world, Maul said. Today that means protecting it not only from the thing that just walked through our guns, but also from our own fear. He did not look away. After a long moment, Tal's shoulders eased a fraction. Very well, she said. 3 hours, but I will be here. And if you hide anything, I will not, Maul said. I am not suicidal. She nodded once and moved to an empty console, her staff following. They started pulling up mirror copies of the feeds. Maul returned to his box. Captain Vale, he said, put all hands to work. I want clean breakdowns of every second of that engagement. Field distortions, energy curves, drive traces. If we cannot hit them, then we will at least learn from the attempt. Soros' jaw was tight, but his eyes were clear again. He turned to the room. You heard him, Soros said. This is history whether we like it or not. Do your jobs. You can shake later. A faint, tired laugh went through a few pits. Jorian bent over his console. His fingers moved through logs, marking strange spikes, tagging odd shadows. Somewhere under the tired fog in his head, a small, fierce part of him burned. They lied to us, he thought, not just by accident. The Empire did not just miss a ship, it missed a people. He thought of the training clips where humans died in swarms under bright Imperial guns. He thought of the calm voice that had just spoken in this room, patient and almost gentle, even as it carried a weapon that could wipe out a cruiser. Not all lies, he told himself. Humans had fought. Many had died, but the last part, and then they were gone. Forever. That had been wrong. Lieutenant Pell, a soft voice said. He looked up. Captain Cerus Vale stood beside his pit again. Sir, Joran said. Saros lowered his voice. How are you holding up? Jorian let out a breath he had been holding since the beam fired. I do not know, he said honestly. Part of me is amazed. Part of me is afraid. Part of me is angry. Angry at what? Saros asked. At the Empire, Joran said, for telling us simple stories, for making me feel foolish right now, for believing them, for sending that cruiser out there thinking their shields were enough. Saras' mouth twitched. Careful, Lieutenant. Some people in here would call that talk disloyal. Is it? Jorian asked. I did my duty. I will keep doing it. But is it disloyal to want my leaders to know what is real? Saros studied him for a moment. Hold on to that question, Saros said. Do not let anyone take it away. He glanced up at the main display. You saw the way that ship moved, he said. The way it spoke. That was not madness. That was not a cornered animal. That was a planned act. A demonstration, Joran said. Yes, Saros said. They wanted us to see. They wanted us to live to tell others. That is worse than a random attack. It means they have more to show. Joran's skin prickled. More ships, he said softly. Perhaps, Saros said. If they can build one, they can build 2, 10, 100. Or maybe they do not need that many. Maybe a few of those moving in the dark, here and there, is enough. He sighed. Work, he said. Work, he said. Think later. The Admiral will need sharp minds when the Council starts asking clever questions. He moved on. Jorian turned back to his consoles, but his thoughts kept drifting. More ships. Unregistered ships. The registry had always felt like a map of the real sky. Now he knew it was just a map of what the Empire could see and control. There were corners beyond its edge. He wondered who else might be hiding there. 2 weeks later, on a dusty mining world, half a galaxy away, a cheap holo projector flickered in the back of a crowded bar. Its ceiling dripped with slow condensation from poor air systems. Miners in stained clothes sat shoulder to shoulder at metal tables, cups in hand, eyes fixed on the bluish light in the center of the room. The holo showed a three-dimensional view of a space battle. The resolution was poor. The details fuzzed in and out. But you could still see the basic shapes. A ringed world, a big station, a cluster of Imperial cruisers, and a single dark shape moving toward them. What is this, anyway? Someone muttered. Some pirate sim. Looks fake. Shut up and watch, the bartender said. He had seen it 3 times already, and still could not look away. The holo replayed the moment where the cruisers fired. Bright arcs of plasma shot out. In the recording, the color was off, turning everything a bit too blue. But the movement was clear. The shots curved. They slid around the dark ship instead of hitting it, like water around a stone. The room murmured. "Look at that," someone breathed. "They missed? All of them?" "Keep watching," the bartender said. The distant, scratchy sound of a voice came through the cheap speakers. The recording had been made off some intercepted military channel, then copied and copied again. The words were a little warped, but you could still understand. "Humanity endures," the voice said. At that word, the whole bar went quiet. In the front row sat a thin woman with tired eyes and a scarred jaw. Her name was Lyra. She had spent most of her life paying taxes to fat men who had never seen a mine. The Empire, to her, was not a shining capital. It was a long line of gray uniforms taking and taking. Her grandfather had told her stories about Deathworlders when she was small. Big, loud stories about mad fighters and final stands. Then the teachers at school had told her those stories were wrong. They were monsters. They had said, "The Empire saved the galaxy from them. Be grateful." She had believed neither side. She had just lived. Now she watched a cruiser on the holo vanish under a thin white line. The bar gasped. In the bad projection, it looked almost like a trick. The cruiser icon flashed, then nothing. No explosion, no debris. The recording skipped. But even so, the meaning was clear. "Gone," someone said. "Erased," another voice said, with a strange mix of fear and glee. The holo cut to a shaky view from another angle. DUSK-SPEAR rolling above the planet, then vanishing in a blur. The feed ended, the projector buzzed and shut down. The room sat in dim yellow light again. Silence held for a few heartbeats. Then talk burst out. "Fake. Has to be. Then where do you get it?" Someone asked the bartender. He shrugged. "Freighter came through last week from the core routes," he said. "Cargo master had this on a side slate. Said it was worth a drink. Said he got it from a crewman off a patrol ship who got it from his cousin who works on Aegis Crown." People laughed at that tangled line, but they did not walk away. A man at the back snorted. "The Empire says humans are dead," he said. "They would not lie about something like that. Too big." "They say a lot of things," Lyra said. Her own voice surprised her. It came out rougher than she meant. Heads turned. "You think it is real?" someone asked her. She looked around the bar, at faces lined by dust and work, at wrists marked by old restraints, at the little boy sitting by the wall, watching with big dark eyes as adults argued about impossible ships. "I think the Empire is scared of something," she said. "You hear the new bans? No talk about unregistered incidents. No free net threads about odd sensor files. They shut down 3 rumors boards last week. Since when do they care about miners' gossip?" A few people nodded. "And look at that recording," Lyra went on. "If you wanted to make the Empire look weak, you would show the planet getting hit, the station exploding. But this is small. Measured One ship, one shot, then gone. Maybe that is the point, someone said softly. The bartender wiped a glass that did not need it. My cousin works on a patrol boat near the core, he said. He sent me a short message, could not say much. Just 6 words. We saw the god of war bleed. The room went very quiet. Lyra did not know what that phrase meant exactly, but she felt it. We have talked for years, she said slowly, about how nothing we do matters. That if we rise up, they send cruisers. They cut our air, they burn our homes, that they always win. She looked up at the empty air where the hollow had been. What if that is not true? She asked. Nobody answered, but several people sat up straighter. In the corner, a small group of dusty figures exchanged glances that held more than simple surprise. They had hidden guns in their homes. They had secret names. They had waited for a sign that did not look like suicide. One of them smiled. Just a little. Humanity endures, he said, under his breath, testing the words. They felt like a small spark. On a gray world at the fringe of imperial space, in a cellar thick with damp, a rebel cell leader, named Karoo, played a piece of audio again. And again, he had no hollow, only a little box that made sound. Aegis Crown Station, the strange voice said on the recording. Imperial Registry Control. You have fired on a human vessel. Carr let it loop. Human vessel, the voice said. Every time the voice said human, Karoo felt something in him stand up, just a bit taller. He had never met a Death Worlder. His grandparents claimed to have seen one once from a distance. Dragged in chains through the streets before an execution, he had grown up under posters showing human faces twisted in rage, with warnings printed under them. This is what defiance looks like. He had helped blow up 3 small Imperial facilities. In response, the Empire had arrested 20 of his friends and cut food imports to his town for a month. He had watched children go hungry. He had wondered if anything he did made any difference at all. Now he held a little box that carried a voice that said, calmly, "Your weapons cannot touch us." He had listened to it 50 times. His second in command, a short woman with missing fingers, leaned against the damp wall. "If that thing is real," she said, "the Empire will be furious. They will lock down harder. More patrols, more checks, more raids. It could make our lives worse." "Yes," Karoo said. "Then why are you smiling?" she asked. He had not known he was. "Because this voice is not begging," he said. "It is not swearing to burn everything. It is not promising glory. It is just sure. Sure that it exists. Sure that their guns cannot erase it." He chuckled once. "It sounded rusty. If they can ignore Aegis," he said, "maybe one day they can ignore a prison barge. Or a patrol base. Maybe they can cut one chain so we can cut another. And if they do nothing," his second asked, "if this is just..." "Then at least we know the Empire's stories are not perfect," Karoo said. Karoo said, And not perfect, Karu said, and once you see a crack in armor, you cannot unsee it. He turned the box off and looked at the little group around him. Pass this around, he said. Copy it, play it in markets, slip it into factory feeds. Don't shout. Don't add slogans. Just let people hear that single sentence. His second nodded slowly. Humanity endures, she said. The words tasted like hope. Back on Aegis Crown, 3 hours after the event, Admiral Maul stood alone in a small private viewing room. The room had a single wall screen, now dark. A shelf of old-style paper books lined one side. A narrow window showed a slice of the capital planet, clouds glowing in reflected light. He had just finished sending his full report to the palace. He knew what would happen next. The council would read it. Some would panic. Some would deny. Some would plan. Internal security would push for crackdowns. Military high command would ask for more ships, more guns, more research. Propaganda ministers would draft careful statements. Isolated incident. Rogue element. Under control. They would not say we are afraid. They would not say we do not know how many of these exist. He closed his eyes for a moment. A soft chime sounded. Someone requested entry. Enter Maul, said. The door slid aside. Captain Saros Vale stepped in, followed by Lieutenant Joreen Pell. Maul raised an eyebrow. Captain, Lieutenant, Admiral, Saros said, you asked to see us. Yes, Maul said. Lock the door behind you. Saros did. Maul gestured to the 2 empty chairs. They did. I have sent my report, Maul said. It says what happened. I did not hide their words. I did not soften their weapon. I called them what they called themselves. He watched their faces. You will likely see a public version of that report soon, he said. Trimmed, polished, with careful phrases. Regrettable loss. Investigation ongoing. No cause for alarm. Joreen's hands tightened on his knees. But there is cause for alarm, he said. Yes, Maul said. There is. Not in the way people think. He stood and paced once slow. I am not afraid that this human fleet will appear tomorrow with 1,000 ships and burn us down, he said. If they wanted that, they would not have done what they just did. They showed restraint. They killed a cruiser clean. Then left. They did not take the easy, terrible path. He stopped by the window. What I fear, he said, is that our own rulers will react in a way that gives these humans exactly what they need. Proof that the Empire is willing to crush its own people to hide the truth. He turned back to them. If the Emperor starts ordering bombings of any world that passes this story, if internal security starts rounding up anyone who says the word humanity with the wrong tone, what do you think will happen? People will hate them more, Joreen said, and they will have a new story to hold on to. Yes, Maul said, a story where the humans are not the monsters, but the mirror. Saros frowned. What can we do? He asked. We're just a station. Orders will come. True, Maul said. We cannot change the Emperor's mind from here. We cannot stop every foolish command. He sat again, facing them, But we can choose how we, as officers, tell this story to those under us, he said. We can choose not to lie outright. We can choose which parts to stress. We can choose to remind our crews that fear is a bad advisor. He looked at Joran. You are young, he said. You have many years ahead of you in this service if you live. You will see things change, maybe faster than you expect. You will also have chances to speak quietly to people who trust you. He folded his hands. What will you say when a junior tech asks you, years from now, did you really see a human ship shrug off our guns? Maul asked. Child, that was propaganda from foreigners trying to trick us. Or will you say, yes, and we are not perfect, and the sky is bigger than our registry? Jorian's mouth was dry, but his answer was clear. I will tell them what I saw, he said. Good, Maul said. Do that. Slow truths passed hand to hand can outlast loud lies shouted from thrones. Saras gave a soft snort. That is almost treason, Admiral. Almost, Maul said. But not quite. I am not calling for revolt. I am calling for clear eyes. The Empire survived its last war with humans by burning strong and bright and blind. If we try that again against a foe that has learned patience, we may not survive the next. He leaned back. Do either of you believe that ship was the only one? He asked. Saros and Joran shared a look. No, Saros said. If they built a tool that's sharp, they have more in the box. No, Joran said. Their voice felt confident, like someone who knows they have backup. Then we must live as if that is true, Maul said. We must assume there could be another dark hole watching any action we take. Watching, judging, deciding where to intervene next. He smiled, but there was no humor in it. If our empire is wise, it will see them not only as a threat but as a test, he said. Can we rule without so much cruelty that they feel forced to act again? Can we hold power without crushing every small defiance? If we cannot, these unseen ships will find the cracks we make. Joran stared at him. He had never considered that angle. You think they care how we treat our own people? He asked. Maul thought of the calm lines the human had spoken. We will not destroy your world today. This is a demonstration. I think they care what kind of story reaches the rest of the galaxy, he said. If we respond to this with terror, they will not need to fire many shots. Our own anger will do their work for them. The three of them sat in a quiet that felt thick. At last, Saros spoke. He asked, from broken feeds, from stolen logs, from rumor. Enough, Maul said. Not everyone, but enough. That phrase, humanity endures, that will spread. It is short. It is easy to remember. It fits in a song. He looked back out at the planet. On some border world, in some bar, they are saying it right now. He said. He was right. In a small bunk on a freighter 2 jumps from the core, a young navigator whispered humanity endures into the dark before sleep, not sure if he meant it as hope or curse. On a crowded street on a factory moon, a child chalked a crude drawing of a dark ship on a wall and wrote under it, in shaky letters, "We exist." On a quiet farm world, a grandmother told a bedtime story that did not end with the heroes dying. They went away, she said, not gone, just waiting. And when the proud kings forgot to be kind, the lost ones came back to remind them. On Earth, Admiral Rebecca Shaw watched new data scroll in. Her analysts brought her reports of intercepted Imperial memos, rumor suppression attempts, small protests stamped with fresh force. "It has begun," Maya Caldwell said, beside her. "Yes," Shaw said, "return of the long game." She leaned back in her chair. "The Empire now knows we are here," she said. "But they do not know where we will appear next, or when. That fear will sit in the back of every admiral's mind. Every time they send a fleet to punish a revolt, they will wonder. If a dark ship is watching, that will cool some of their rage. And heat some of it," Maya said. "They may strike harder in places they think we cannot see." "Yes," Shaw said, "we cannot save everyone. We are not gods, but we have shown that they are not gods either. That matters." She looked at a simple text on her screen, a palace memo marked confidential, already cracked by her people. It read, "Effective immediately. All reference to Deathworld or extinction in public materials to be reviewed. Consider softening of absolute language. Emphasize continued vigilance rather than final victory." She smiled sadly. "Already they start to adjust their story," she said. "They will never say, 'We lied,' but they will stop saying. They will say, 'There might be remnants.' We must be careful." And in that gap, Maya said, "Hope grows." Shaw nodded. "Hope and fear," she said. "We must steer both." She looked up at the large display where DUSK-SPEAR's mission log ended with the jump mark in the words, "Returned. No further engagement. You did well." "Elias," she said softly, though he could not hear her from here, "you played the part we needed." She keyed a message. "To all Terran commanders, eyes only subject. Aegis engit." Lessons her fingers flew. "We have shown our face," she wrote. "We have proven their registry is not absolute. We have proven their shields are not perfect. We have lit a small fire in the minds of their captains and their poor alike. Now we must be patient again. Remember, our aim is not to trade blow for blow until the stars are red. Our aim is to let the Empire teach its own people that it is not the only way. Every overreaction to us will make that lesson louder. Every act of mercy or restraint on our part will make our story stronger. Use single ships where possible. Hit where records are watched most and lives are lost. Least warships, weapon platforms, empty display. Leave survivors. Leave questions. Never, unless there is no choice. Leave ashes where children live. Humanity endures. Let that be a promise, not a threat." She sent it on DUSK-SPEAR, drifting in a dark orbit around a forgotten moon. Commander Elias Mercer sat alone in the dim bridge, watching a faint star that marked, from here, the rough direction of the Imperial capital. He thought of the officers on Aegis, staring at their screens. He thought of the cruiser he had killed. He thought of miners far away, passing around shaky hollows. Humanity endures, he said under his breath. He did not say it with pride or anger. He said it with something heavier. Responsibility, because enduring was not just about surviving. It was about what you did with the time survival gave you. Behind him, in the quiet hum of the hidden fleet, other unregistered ships waited, dark and patient. In the bright heart of the Empire, under a station that no longer felt like a perfect eye, people began to tell new stories. Some still believed the old myth, that the Empire was untouchable and those who fought it were fools. Some now added a small new line to their prayers at night. If there are others out there watching, let them see us. Above them all, unseen for now, the sky held two truths at once. The Empire was still vast, still strong, still ready to crush. And somewhere beyond the edges of its map, a quiet human voice had said no. That single word, carried on a beam across the dark, was already beginning to change what everyone believed about power, extinction, and who truly held authority in the stars.